Hi, everyone. This is September 18th, and it's wonderful to see all your faces. We've had several discussions over the last month or so that involved discussions about racism. And last week we started talking more specifically about racism in the church. So in our church specifically. So we didn't have a chance to really finish that conversation, especially because two of our panelists had to leave early. So we're gonna talk more in depth about that tonight. Specifically, we're gonna talk about white supremacy culture. At least that's what we're starting with. We're gonna let the Spirit lead us, however it happens. But we're gonna start, as we always do, with with our introductions, which include our name and our pronouns, because that's important. It's really life. Some people's lives depend on their pronouns being recognized, and we want to express our solidarity with that. And then we do an icebreaker because it's a nice especially when we have an emotional subject. It's nice to kind of get to know just a little piece about each other in a non-threatening type icebreaker question. so so that's how we're going to start. And Leo's going to bring us the question.
Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Leo. Pronouns he, him, or any pronouns will be fine. Today's icebreaker is what is one thing that makes your day better? For me, I would have to say that I've gotten into a habit of reading a daily devotional. At first, it was very difficult to get my routine on that, but yeah, reading a daily devotional.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Hi, everybody. My name's Jared. Pronouns he, she, they, z, them, they, them, all of the pronouns, right? And what makes my day better, other than skin-to-skin contact with my husband, would probably be I love listening to books or reading books, right? And I always listen to either someone speaking in the form of a book, right, or an actual book on my way to and from work, and it makes my day better.
Excellent. Suzette?
I am Suzette, she, her. I am really enjoying every day that I get up and walk and listen to my audiobook. So I have an audiobook that I listen to while I walk, and it makes the time go by so fast. And I walk by my little cows and my little pony, and makes me happy.
Nice.
Every day.
I love that.
That is, yeah. Kate?
My name is Kate. Pronouns are they, them. What makes my day better is waking up every morning and deciding what I want to do for the day, since I don't have to go to work.
I'm jealous. Jealous.
All right, Gregor.
Gregor, he, they. What makes my day better is giving my husband a hug and a kiss as he's on his way out the door to go to work, because I work at home, and then seeing him when he returns home. And then other than that, I do enjoy taking walks or riding my bicycle, listening to music. And when I listen to Apple, I put on their playlist and I let them, I listen to whatever they feed me. So I do not preset or pre-program. So this way I'm getting an influx of all types of music, all varieties of music. And I love it. That makes my day better.
Excellent. It's hard to choose one, but and I wasn't. We do devotions at night instead of in the morning, so I wasn't in the habit of doing like Marco and I and now my mom on the phone read devotions together. So that's a nice habit. But in the morning devotions, I didn't really start doing that until the Facebook devotions were assigned to me. And and now I'm supposed to get ahead is how I was counseled on doing that, but I prefer to just do it on the day, to just write about it on the day that that it's I'm posting it. So that's that. I can agree with that, but I don't know if this counts, but one of my favorite parts of the day is more like at night, and that's looking at the stars. I've kind of ritualized that for myself, and so that's probably my favorite part of the day. Oh, did I say I'm Carol, she, her? Sorry.
And Carol lives in a part of the country where you can actually see the stars.
Yes, I really love living in a smaller town, and the only time I can't is when the smoke or something is too bad. So yeah, but that's not very often, not since our big fire a couple of years ago. So anyway, so I've kind of introduced this already a little bit. We for 2 weeks we talked about the guidelines that we go by, and I posted those in the chat. The 7 guidelines of like privacy, respect, take turns, okay to disagree, try it on, both and, take responsibility for your own learning, and intent and impact. So we talked about each of those in fair depth. And so tonight we're talking about white supremacy culture, and I wanted to start with one that kind of builds on the both and rule. But let's talk a little bit first about what white supremacy culture is. And we're not talking about like what, you know, like just what a group of white supremacists, that is people who would identify like that, talk about. No, this is the water we're all swimming in. So, and culture is hard to change, and because it's so pervasive, it's hard to see it, and it's hard to kind of delineate the characteristics. So this is this is something that affects everyone, um uh, so in different ways. And and Jared has brought up several examples of that, and maybe when we get a little further down there, maybe he'll repeat some of that. But let me just start talking about some of the characteristics. And well, first of all, does anybody have any questions about what it is, or anything to add about what?
I have one important thing. So like currently, like I'm at because like I'm still going to school right now. I'm doing a paper, essentially a paper that's been converted into a speech, on the connection between school shootings and white supremacy. Really, any form of like racial supremacy, and it's one to one, right? Like the ideologies connect greatly. And so I say that to say simply that it ranges from not just the like destruction and devastation of the communities of people of color, right? But it literally is a causative, and it's proof and causative factor of these random, shootings, these random shootings within schools, right? And so, like, addressing this, right? If any of y'all care about gun violence, right, is a great way to address the internal aspect of the external legislation.
Nice. Okay. Well, these are all things, yeah, these are things to notice in and maybe we can think of examples. So I want to start with either or thinking, because that's directly related to one of our guidelines, that we're trying to take it to both and kind of thinking instead of either or binary, particularly, you know, this is something is good or bad, a person is good or bad, that's you know, a community is good or bad, or a specific race is good or bad. And so just really that really addresses one of the deep roots um of white supremacy culture that I think we see all around us. I, just even in television ads, in everything. I just, it's very hard to get away from either or thinking, and it's a nice exercise to train yourself to try to get away from that and use and instead of but. Suzette?
So I just got my first jury summons here in Fort Bend County. It's a totally different county than Harris County. And they I had to answer an online survey about myself. And they asked me the typical questions, I guess, of jury members of, you know, what's your race? What's your, they did ask my age, if I had children, if I was married, and I was just like, this is really intrusive. I don't like it. What does that have to do with what you know, how I process on a jury? That went way, that was like maybe 10 years ago. I would have just answered those questions like no big deal. But today I'm like, why are you asking me these questions? What is it? What? And I'm a white person. So why would, you know, it's intrusive is what I'm saying. It felt really intrusive. And if I'm a registered voting member of a county and a society with a driver's license and all of the requirements that, why did I have to answer those questions? So anyway, it just brought me back to our recent conversations around the decisions that get made and the biases that we have and how we make those decisions. So it goes very deeply into the fabric of our society and wow. I think it asked me, um, I don't know if it asked me if my preferred pronoun. It didn't. But I mean, anyway, I had to say that because it's now coming at me from all these places that I never expected before. Like I'm just noticing all the little digs and the little, ways that as a society we ask these questions that really shouldn't matter, but
I think that's excellent that you're noticing these, and like you said, and that you said you wouldn't have noticed it before. I think that means that we're
it's
we're
working,
making a
y'all.
difference. Yeah, yeah. And I wonder how much some of our audience that we never, hear feedback from. I wonder how much that makes a difference with
Yeah,
them.
I tried to lower
The,
my hand. Anyway, thank you for
Makes me think of a question I mean, it's not related to kind of what you said at all, but it is related to race and the issues that we're having with immigration. I mean, the
And they always ask the question,
issues and stuff
are you of
that
Hispanic
we're.
origin? And I really
Well, I
think
got a question. I
and
called.
Native American and this and that, it's like,
Oh,
how do I
yeah. I mean,
answer that?
sometimes you expect it on things like census data or something like that, but I got the question. I called about um an account Marco has. They have something called able accounts
Mhm.
for people that need supervision of their money, but they still need some access. And I called to request a new card because of the caregiver.
Mhm.
And they said, well, my next question is he a U.S. citizen? And I was like, what? Why would you ask me that? I mean, this is his account, and it's just something we have to ask now. I was not expecting that at all.
They asked if your child was a
Yes,
citizen.
yes, the one whose account, the name, the account was in.
God, I can't handle it.
Yeah. I was like, what happens if I'd said no? Do I not get a card? That's what I said. She said, no, it's just a question we have to ask. I was like, well, who gets the data? You know, I was flabbergasted. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Jared and Leah.
That was a question just to get a debit card?
Just to get a replacement. I mean, we already had the account. They,
I mean, I could understand if it's like account opening, but to get a card, that's a little too much.
That's a little discriminatory.
Yeah.
very much so. So,
Wow.
yes, banks are regulated by the federal government. So I don't know. I wonder if they could say no to asking that question. I wonder who regulates that. And of course, the lady I was talking to didn't have a clue.
It's just another way to track people.
Yep. Yep.
And ICE is already working hand in hand with the IRS, and like, so banks, that's a step down in comparison, actually. So that's easy for the and stuff like that. Yeah, that's troubling times we have.
Yeah, that's a bit much for a debit card.
Yeah. Well, how can we combat either or thinking?
So whenever we I believe in like one of the millions of God talks, I'm not sure which one, episode 27,943, we I believe I spoke about forms of resistance, right? Where whenever you are you literally have to work a job to survive this economy, right? Because the economy is capitalism, and capitalism says that if you don't have money, you starve to death and you're homeless and all the things, right? You do that thing where you never really you sort of comply with like the rules on paper, but you like in person and in actual like implementation of the rules, you do everything in your power to do the opposite of comply, right? So you basically you manually create third options, right? You manually, so like for instance, if you are with technology, it's difficult because it's just automated, right? And they're binary automated. But if you're like still one of those banks that still actually has a person to person relationship, for instance, right? You can guide people towards answers, right? You can guide people towards like making the right decisions with the information that they volunteer. You can help people to read between the lines and word things creatively so that you are following the rules and they are, not stymied into revealing any information that is going to be weaponized against them in the future. But that often requires us as workers to deconstruct our attachment to capital to like the supremacy culture, right, that we reside in. Because it's really hard to go against what your boss says whenever your boss says you have to comply with these rules and do the right thing, right? It's hard to let go of our attachment to our parents, because that's what that kind of is, right? You know, that authority attachment.
I see what you mean. Yes.
Right? It's hard to move out and think for ourselves, you know, that just because, you know, an authority figure tells me I have to do something, that doesn't mean I'm still a human being. I can do what I want, right? And it's even harder for people who've gone through some form of institutional training, like med school or like law school or like literally the military, right? Like all these institutions, they sort of grill in all the opposing colonial ideas.
I now understand what you were trying to tell me the other night with this. Now I understand what you're saying. Sorry, I just
think
had the
that
epiphany.
speaks to perfectionism too, and
Yeah.
So I think the dichotomy that comes to mind with the either or is us and them.
Mm-hmm.
That it just if we can train our thinking to try to turn that around, and it's hard. I mean, it's kind of wired in.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's like, you know, just the tribal thinking. Let's circle up and keep everybody else out because they're going to hurt us.
Mm-hmm.
And who's in our circle and who's out, and when you start when you start making those circles on race-based you know, categories, then that's, you can clearly see how that's related to white supremacy culture.
Right. Small thing, maybe rather than tribal, I think individualistic, right, would be a better term. Because normal communities, communal settings, right, have been actually really good at, including, to the detriment of sometimes the actual people within that community themselves, right? See Christopher Columbus for details. But yes, absolutely, right? Like that sort of individualization, right? Where we sort of create separation islands, because like we think our island's best island, hoorah, is something that we have. It takes time for us to deconstruct because it's a soup we swam in.
Yes, thank you for correcting my language. Yes, I'm sorry about that.
But it was, yeah, absolutely. Understand what you're saying. You did, yeah. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, let's talk some about perfectionism, because I think that speaks to, like, I made a mistake in what I just said, and white supremacy culture would be just don't say anything if you can't get it perfect. But we're not going to heal from this if we can't allow ourselves and each other to try something on, to try something new on, thank you for helping us just demonstrate what we're talking about right here. That's excellent.
It takes two to make things go right.
You've brought up perfectionism several times, Jared. Do you want to say more about how that's related and what we can do about it?
Well, a lot of I'm just gonna use a lot of I statements. Like for me, like as as a person of color, we always have, there's that statement that I'm sure all of you've heard. We have to work twice as hard, just the smallest amount as like close to acknowledged, right? And so oftentimes, you know, within our communities, whenever we are trying to navigate these structures, we internalize. I've internalized perfectionism in a lot of ways, right? And you know, it's hard because it's rewarded within these systems, right? And so it's reinforced that your anxieties are validated, right? Constantly, like, oh, it's so good that you were hyper anxious about this thing, right? It's that you were willing to sacrifice all your personal life to get this thing done. I'm so proud of you. Good job. You get a lot of those messages in a lot of these institutions that are colonial, culty, or abusive, right? Whether you're in an abusive relationship, that's just a one-to-one, you know, like just you and another person, right? Or you are in a multi-level marketing scheme. You know, like all of these things, they all work to take advantage of your labor. And you know, like perfectionism is sort of the blinds that we use, you know, to sort of make us within these systems feel like we have to give our labor away for free, right? Because if we, you know, like if it's usually white supremacy and most cults, right, are always about labor, right? Because it's always about how can I get some things for you for free? Like what can I do to get something for you without any sort of recompense, right? And whenever you set standards that revolve around doing everything perfectly, right, you sort of incentivize this sort of competition that makes people more likely to forget that they're just working for free, that they're just doing all these extra things for free, right? Just because they're trying to be perfect, but perfection isn't I did 20 free things and one thing that's actually the job, right? Perfect's just doing the job to the best of your ability. And so you know, perfectionism does this thing where it changes the goalposts, right? Where it's like, even if you do the job right, you know, well, Cindy from accountant did that, and she made a fancier spreadsheet, right? It wasn't in Arial, it was in Times New Roman, and you know, Derek, the CEO, really loves Times New Roman, and it was 12.5 font, right? And so like that made it a little bit more clear, and you know, like that just
hurt. I just can't.
right, and that's the culture though, right? Like that's the culture, because it's like you create these, like whenever it's obsessed over perfection, you will never actually ever be perfect, and so the goalpost is forever moving, right? Like you could have done everything right, you're still, even as a person of color, you're still not white.
And the mistakes, I think, are perceived as you know, it's not just that you made a mistake, you know, you are a mistake.
Yes,
You know,
yeah.
it's like that. And so, yeah, one of Sunshine Cathedral, one of the things that they say every week is, "You are God's miracle and not God's mistake."
Yes.
Just a nice reminder of that. Suzette?
So, you know, my only experience of the perfectionism thing came in the form of gender. So while I didn't have the shared experience of the color of my skin being different than somebody else's, I had the experience of growing up in a place of, you know, don't question anything. You know, this person is in charge of you. This male person is in charge of you. And early in my career of, you know, I always wanted to have a career. You know, career was really important to me. I was never going to get married. I was never going to have kids because I wanted a career. And that was really important to me. And I didn't think I could have all of it. So I chose career. And so when I went to college, I applied for a job and at the college, and I thought I was dressed beautifully, right? I had on a dress that I had made, and I thought I looked really nice, and the the lady that was interviewing me was like, "Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and hire you, but we're gonna need you to wear pantyhose next time," you know? And it was like that was like the chipping away that, you know, nobody really talks about who chips what at where, when in your life, but I always never felt like I was good enough. It was always never, it was always me trying to live up to a standard that I could never attain. I wasn't thin enough. I wasn't pretty enough. I didn't have perfect teeth. I didn't wear pantyhose that day, that kind of thing. So we all have an experience where society just does us, does a number on us. And, we can, I'm sure, think of lots of stories, but I can't imagine what we have historically put other people through, knowing that that little bitty, nothing in my life, impacted me, and how what we do to other people, either it destroys them or it gives them a voice. And, God be the glory to those who feel like they have a voice and can express themselves, because to me, I think that is the absolute um, test of freedom, is being able to express yourself, not in the way that some people did it so that it was hurtful, but in a way that says, this doesn't feel okay to me. I don't like how I feel because of what you're saying to me or doing to me, or what you're making me do. And I think I'm going to have to step back and think about this for a minute before I accept it as part of who I am. We don't get taught that as kids, that, oh, we have a choice. We don't have to do X, Y, Z in order to be a card-carrying member of society that's recognized in the way that society prefers. So I hear
I
you.
just,
I hear what you're saying, and I know I have convoluted thoughts, but it just makes me have these memories of when I felt it, and now I think, God, that was nothing compared to what other people have felt and what other people have been put through. And I purposely watched a channel I wouldn't normally watch today because it was people I wouldn't normally watch. So it was an experience of getting out of my normal, and it was a channel of people of color. And so it was like getting out of my normal white news people comfort zone and going to this other channel where, it was different. And so I'm trying really hard to find those experiences wherever I can and just, open doors for myself. But I'm sorry if I rambled a little bit, but it just it just it just makes me feel bad as a person. It makes me feel really sad as a person. It literally takes me emotionally to a place that not of just horror, but of just complete sadness that we can't be kind and more loving to other people. I don't understand it.
well,
I
this
don't
is a
know.
start. This is a start, and you are a very loving person. And uh, and I want to just Kreger, I'm getting to you just a second. But I want to bring this back to kind of what we're seeing in the church. And for those of you who weren't here last week, one of the issues that was brought up was how people were like standing up and expressing themselves. Suzette, you talked about how, the self-expression, and that's kind of the opposite of perfectionism. And there's another one on here too that's related. I'll find it in a minute. Oh, only one right way. Only one right way. Like we got to get it perfect, and it's got to be the way I'm used to. Like like sitting down in church and wearing a suit or whatever. I mean, that's how I was. That's how everybody did things in the church I grew up in. And anyway, uh, uh, so I just kind of put that in your mind about how you might see that manifest at church, and how we could encourage each other in better ways. Gregor?
My question is for Jared and Leo. It's maybe a two-part question. The first part is, are you all planning on returning to in-person worship this Sunday?
No. No.
No.
We're currently working on setting up a meeting for right setting up a meeting to speak to the board and like members about what occurred so we can move forward, but we have no plans of attending in person, and
Until it's a safe place for people of color.
and what the good thing that we have done is build community, right? Because if we hadn't built community, we would have never gotten to know all of y'all, right? And we would have never y'all would have never gotten to know us as well, right? And not only here, but in all the groups that we attend Monday through Thursday. And we even thought about like not attending these groups, right? Because I was really hurt. I was extremely hurt. That first week, I was crying. I was having nightmares. And I'm like, but you know what? I love these groups. I really do. And they actually make me feel better. Even if I had a rough day, if I come to GODTALK, if I go to book study, if I, Bible study, it actually makes me feel better. It makes me feel like I belong. I don't know. It's a more intimate group, right? Where you know these people intimately. Like y'all see me cry. I cry at the drop of a dime, right? No. But it's like I've gotten to know y'all, and it's like I can't do this to myself. Like I'm already secluding myself from the church, and I'm like, no, you know what? I'm not gonna let anybody win, and just take my happiness away from me. So I was like, yeah, but maybe not attending the church after we work on certain things. And the good thing is that a lot of people have reached out to us and they said, how can I help?
And they also shared similar stories.
And they've also shared similar stories. And I even asked, like, hey, is this your first time saying this out loud to someone? And they say yes. That's not the only one. Like, there's been several stories that they've told us.
And that's just the people who still go to a church.
Yeah. These are just the people.
So my second question is, if I heard correctly last Thursday, in that next gen meeting, there were 2 representatives from the board of directors and 1 pastor. And are you able to share the names of those board of directors and that pastor? To me, it only could have been Mona or Candace, but I don't know. Maybe it was someone else.
Maybe it was Carol.
Well, I don't know. Is that even really the point? I mean, I mean, what we're talking about is that this is a culture, and I think I heard Jared say, it may not have been on record, but I heard him say, I'm not here to beat anybody up. You know, and that's not the point ever, really. I mean, if we're going to change this culture, this white supremacy culture, it's not about going up to somebody and saying, "Hey, you're a racist." You know, that doesn't help at all. It doesn't change the culture. We're looking within, but I mean, but we're working, as you'll see down on these racial equity principles. We're working on our own stuff, but we're also working as a collective. We're working in community, and you know, we start looking at ourselves, but at the same time that we're trying to create change. And I think Jared and Leo have um, really done a miraculous job at just using this as a catalyst for change. And I am just extremely hopeful that something really is going to change. It feels right that Jared and Leo have gotten people's ear in a way um, that I think is it's just going to make a huge difference. And I hope. And if not, we can all leave in mass. I don't know.
Well, it's also been, the topic of conversation in all the Resurrection Zoom meetings that I'm on because I'm not there in person. And so this is, well talked about. And, I was just curious about names because, um, you know,
Well, like,
as
here's the
one white person, if it was another white person that said something, maybe I could go say, "Hey, do you have any idea what kind of impact you're having here when you speak these words?" I'm just asking. Why are you saying
That
these
is
things?
that
yeah,
is one good thing, is to bring it up right away and
right,
to
That's
maybe
a
phrase it in that kind of way.
right.
It does need to be addressed like that.
Right. And I kind of want to make sure, like, Carol, absolutely, right? Like, everything you said, right? I couldn't have said it better myself in a lot of ways. And, Kreger, and what, like, for that second question, yeah, like, I feel like if we were to start dropping names, for instance, you would get a lot of people, right? Because it's not even just that meeting, right?
Yeah.
We're talking about all of the racism in the church, right? And it's not at a certain point, it's not even about personal accountability, right? Like, it's literally just about the culture of racism, right?
Mhm.
And like, I don't know if there's enough time to to list every name of because I would probably be on that list too, because I'm, like, I'm everybody is doing work, right? We are all experiencing and surviving racism. And, if we don't think that we have a problem with racism, then we're probably not looking, or we don't have someone who has the audacity enough to tell us, right? To point it out for us. So,
Well,
yeah.
it's really hard for me to let it go because I'm all those behaviors that you said in the meeting last week with the bright colored shirts and standing up and what being distracted, and no one's ever said a word to me. Is it because I'm white? I'm having a hard time letting it go.
Probably.
So that's
I mean,
Well, I
probably that's
understand, and I would point out that there were people with those same behaviors and same appearance that acted that way in the service on Sunday, and no, I didn't.
Carol. She was texting me.
well, and then
Right.
I
Better
heard from
listen to
other
the mess.
people that people were saying, "Oh, we know that Jared and Leo weren't there," and because they were in the chat, they were in the chat watching online, and they're like, "Well, we don't see Jared and Leo when everyone turn around and wave or whatever." So, like, people noticed y'all weren't there,
I think
even
I'm
in
the
the
one.
online community.
I said Marco noticed.
Marco
Okay,
does.
we're nearing the end. We're closing down, and I don't mean to go out of order, Suzette, but I'd like to give Kate a chance since she hasn't spoken this hour yet.
No problem.
Okay.
I wasn't aware of the events that happened, and I'm going to go back and watch the tape from last week just so I get caught up with things. But Leo, I hope I wasn't part of the groups that hurt you so bad.
Not at all.
And
Like I've told Carol, one thing about God Talk that I love is that we come here and we've had some hard conversations, right? And we have some very uncomfortable conversations. But what I like about God Talk is that we listen to each other, right? And we come to an understanding that we're here to learn, right? And I think that's what's missing from our church, that we don't give each other, time to learn about our lives, our stories, our backgrounds, right? That we make these, presumptions about people, and we really don't know them. Like, if people would just get to know my husband, they would find out what a wonderful person he is.
And we find that out in the groups.
Yes.
And another thing, I was a victim of abuse from a person of the church when I was 14, a female that was an adult. So for me, my entire adult life, not only have I never been accepted in churches, but I have, something traumatic that happened to me related to churches. But when I found these groups, it was like, it's a whole different experience. And I mean, it's so meaningful to me to get to know you all, even though I don't want to go to the church, especially since I'm hearing all these, stories. But that's all I wanted to say, is that I want to learn and be a better person.
And our goal is not to necessarily alienate anyone from the church, actually. Our goal is to change the culture so that it becomes a safe space, so that people don't feel like they have to.
Yeah,
because like it or not, when you Google, right, gay affirming churches, you get a lot of white supremacist spaces, right? You get a lot of unsafe spaces for people of color, right? There is not a lot of melanin. There is not a lot of, like intercultural understanding, and even just even advertising, right? Like just the advertising alone, it's really, really white supremacist coded. And so, the MCCs, they got the historical backbone and background to really represent a safe space for people of color. We're not just building upon a colonial institution. No, we are building upon an institution that has always been for the disenfranchised. And so, my goal actually is the opposite. I want more people to be at this church, because I want the church to be a safe space. And in order for it to be that, people who are accepting, loving, and connective and are doing the anti-racist work need to be there. That's what it needs to be in community,
And I think that so far we've done a great job, with building up the next gen. Thanks to Nelda and everybody and Suzette, and I think that we've grown it. Just like Nelda said, she's been trying for years and years and years. And she's like, and now that we finally get the ball rolling, now this happens. I'm like, it's okay. Yeah, I'm like, it's okay, because we could have easily said, you know what, I'm done with this church. I give up. Let's just find a different church. But but we've been coming here for a little over a year, so I'm interested in this church. I don't want to go anywhere else.
I think
I-
there's a lot of hope for this church.
Yeah, I've gotten to love the people that I've met, all of y'all, you know. And no, I'm like, I told my husband, I was like, no, we're not going down without a fight.
Yeah.
You know,
The racists can leave
Yeah.
if they want to, or they can change and not be racist.
Mhm.
Have to leave.
And I just want to point out, Kate, thank you for showing, you know, I mean, in some of these previous sessions, we've tried to say, yes, I consent to, you know, call me out if that if that's what we need. And I think you just demonstrated that again, and that's beautiful.
Mhm.
So Suzette, again, be mindful of the time.
No, I had one quick thing, and that was just to say that you're the reason why I didn't leave.
Aww. Is that for president?
and we were we were so hurt when that happened to
Oh
you
my goodness.
because
And
Mhm.
it just I don't understand a lot. I'm still like sad about Denise. I don't even know what happened to her. And she just reached out to me the other day, and I still haven't gotten connected with her, but God, I'm so pissed. I just been sitting here brimmed with tears this whole time. And it's just not okay. And I'm so grateful for you all that are willing to come back or at some point in time come and sit in a pew and make a joyful noise with us, because it's so needed. It's just so needed. This is just so needed.
And quite frankly, y'all are showing tremendous leadership by, you know, having this meeting and trying, you know, whatever you've got coming up with the board. You've got a lot of guts, you've got a lot of courage, and I truly appreciate that, because I'm like Leo. I've been coming to these Wednesday meetings for over a decade, and I always left feeling more than less than, until last week when I left this meeting, and it was just truly upsetting. And like I told you all, I'm having a hard time letting it go. So thank you. I was just like, you know what? I was like, tell these people, if they don't like the second and the third row, then they need to get there early enough to where they can sit there, so that you don't have to look.
Right?
Whatever. I mean, people just need to let us worship where we're at. That's what they always say in the, you know, our what do you call it? Our statement of facts or whatever.
but like I told
God meets you where you are. Well, where I am is in a big, bright, colorful shirt, and I'm standing up and waving my hand or whatever I'm doing.
but like I told my husband,
Right.
even if we move to the left, to the right, to the back,
Yeah, I know what you mean.
we're gonna be the problem.
Moving the seat isn't going to be the issue. You know, I get that, but you know, I was just thinking of anything in the heat of the moment, and
Yes.
so yeah, I'm
Yeah, some people got uncomfortable, and
in light, you know, and against the backdrop of what's happened in our overall society in the last 2 weeks, with a very prominent figure being killed. And I'm like, here's our little community, and we can't even get it together enough. How in God's name are we supposed to put up a defense against peoples that would have us stoned for our sexual orientation? How are we going to confront that if we can't even build something within our own walls? And
But keeping us divided.
it's exhausting, you know. I'm like, here I still am after how many years? Oh well, one day and one step at a time.
Yes, one step at a time. And I think you both hit on very big issues that we're talking about here. And I mean, that's the whole purpose of colonialization, of white supremacy culture, is to divide. It's like you said, Kate, it's to divide white people from BIPOC people. It's to divide white people from white people to from people of color to people of color. It's to divide everyone. And so we are coming together, and that's beautiful. And that is what brings me back to our God Talk purpose about the image of God. And that's where we see God is in our coming together, in our joining together, in our trying to learn, in our trying to express ourselves, and just the way that we're still trying. And so I'm not saying it's going to be easy or that it's a done deal by any means. There's a lot of work if we're going to make our church a safe space. And thank you all for being here and working with and trying to trying to start to have the conversation, to look within ourselves to make a difference.
Chelsea?
I just wanted to say one quick thing. I'm so glad to know all of you, and I always feel so loved being here, and I always feel loving when I'm here as well. And I just want to say thank you to Jared and Leo for sharing your experiences to everyone, and for opening up that space to everyone else who's felt those same things and not felt courageous enough to tell anyone. So I think we can all learn from that. I think we can all become a safe space for everyone to come to. And I just wanted to say that. Yeah, I love all of you so much.
Great. Beautiful. And I try to make, I hope that each session will be kind of standalone. So Kate, I'm sorry that you feel like you need to go back and listen, but
No, what?
it was pretty.
I watch the ones that I miss all the time.
That's good.
But anyway, so I think this was a good session, and I'm very happy that you were all here, and I hope we see you all again next week. And I thought we were going to have a couple of new people, but maybe next week we will. And hopefully this will be a safe space for them as well.
Yes.
All right, Kreger, do you want to pray us out?
Sure. Holy Spirit, we are grateful for the opportunity to gather as the beloved community. And even if it's just the 6 of us in this room right here and right now, there's 2 or more gathered in your name. Amen. We just thank you for this group, and especially for Jared and Leo. And we just thank you so much for the leadership and strength that they are showing in light of the events that have happened over the last couple of weeks. We just pray that they will keep going one foot in front of the other. I hate to say fight for what's right, but that's, I wish I could just take the word fight out of my entire vocabulary, but it just doesn't seem possible at this point. Nevertheless, we just pray for we're just pray through the fruits of their labor that the MCC congregation in Houston will experience a new sense of hope, a new sense of inclusion, a new sense of belonging for everybody that shows up through those doors. That's what the whole thing was founded on to begin with 50 whatever years ago. So we pray that comes into being. And we just pray that you'll give us the wherewithal to just keep going. It gets so discouraging sometimes. It gets so hard, especially maybe for some of us who are a little older. It's just hard finding the energy to keep dealing with this stuff over and over. So give us the strength to move forward, and give us the courage to just press on. We ask for all of this in the name of Jesus. Amen.
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 I love you very much.